Well, in the first map of the series of Abyss, 2G, they go for the run back, and it's going to be successful this time, having learned from mistakes and showing up on the day. I mean, Shift, looking back through that map, All Knights, there is definitely some fragging capabilities, but 2G, they seemed so cohesive. They looked like they knew what they were doing when they approached this map.
I hope so. It's the winners finals of Ascension. I mean, you better have some idea how to play the map. The thing about it was, I love the way All Knight started off with just kind of controlling the map, putting together a lot of attention towards every single bit of the map from their offensive side, forcing 2Game to have to consider a ton of things. The thing about it was, once they eventually got to their full purchases, they really did put together a handful of really solid defensive rounds. 2 good defuses on retakes, but most of it coming down to just denying any entry for All Knights to get onto site, which did look like was going to be a problem for them early. So good mid-map adjustment, or I would say half adjustment for the side of 2Game to keep themselves in the picture for the 6-6 half, and then the offense so much better, largely because Silence is good.
Pretty good at the game, I would say. I mean, Silence on multiple maps, when he's able to show up, is just been showing out, and so difficult for any team to be really being able to go up against Roy. I mean, it's just no matter what role Silence is playing, it's just crack. Yeah, no.
Silence shoots head, very good player. Wow, we are really good at our jobs. I mean, just look at the clips that we're seeing right here. Just the level of drilling that was happening by this player was just unreal. Just to reiterate, by the way, he was 27-16, 7-4 on the first kills. He had the combined kills with the next 2 players on his team. That includes Spike in there, by the way. That is madness from him on the first map showing. And honestly, I do agree with Shift. I can see why 2G picked this, because they have made significant improvements to their into Abyss and the way they're approaching it.
Yeah, 7 out of the 11 first kills go just to Silence's back pocket. Also offensively, 100% cast percentage. What? Oof. Legitimately, he was a part of every single elimination. That's unbelievable. So really good stuff when it comes down to what his overall presence looked like. Spike was also right up there in terms of his presence on the map. That's all good news for 2Game, especially going into a Lotus map where we don't really know what we're going to get from this squad, just to kind of tease that point.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting once we get into there. But for AK, I mean, even if they were victorious on this map last time around, 2G is so evident by their series yesterday, and then even just really hitting that point home today. They are very good at this calling. They're very good at this adaptation. And when Silence is going this 27-16, I mean, that's going to be more than difficult enough to be kind of dealing with. So when we go into this next map, and they're not going to have that tape to be really building out those game plans, we're really going to have to rely on those individual performances and that adaptation throughout.
Yeah, and I think 2G and Silence had kind of threw a wrench in the plans of All Knights, because I feel like they sort of won the veto. If they had just closed out the map that they won last time in a 13-7 fashion, going into Lotus, where now you have the advantage of having secrets on this map, which not many teams in this tournament can say, you had it all laid out. It was a perfectly laid out veto. They did a really good job in that regard, but I feel like the sort of curveball that we got in this first map has kind of ruined things a little bit for All Knights.
I mean, we don't have the information for All Knights on Lotus, but for 2Game, we have seen their Lotus before, and unfortunately, not necessarily going their way. This is where we do get to see Silence go back to this Cypher, a stronghold for the team Shift, and Spike to be picking up that duelist capability of the Neon.
Yeah, we may have not seen this map at all for All Knights, and only once for 2Game in this particular event, but they did play it a ton in individual regions for them, and relatively speaking, they both found good success. And I really don't look at that matchup versus M80 and hold it against 2Game too much, simply due to the fact that M80 were just outclassing them. They shut down the Neon. They weren't giving them a chance to play deep in towards sites. That's what M80 does. They're so good at maps that look like Lotus just because their retake percentage is strong and their ability to execute is I would say more often than not, pretty unrivaled on the day. So I don't really hold that against 2Game. I'm more looking to see how they played it in their region, and both teams share very similar results. Win percentages on both sides of the Spike are about the same. They're going to play likely the same composition with Neons and Breaches on both sides with a Fade Cypher Omen. So if that ends up being the case, again, just to break it down like we did right when we opened the show, same mirror comp essentially means whoever executes better is going to win. I think at the same point, you also have now an opportunity to really see the presence of not just Spike on a duelist, but Dante flexing into a different duelist where he also finds a lot of success. So that's the matchup that I'm really curious about, just because the two Neons are likely going to beat each other a lot.
Especially to Dante going over to the Neon for this map, supposedly, but I think that's a pretty strong wager here. I think one of the things that we talked about in the virtual green room was Dante with the op-ed was just not quite hitting the same as maybe other days. So going on to something like this Neon, making that impact in other way, that's what I'm looking forward to as we head into our Blacklight Agent Select. Make it all official here, Roy,
yes,
on what we're going to see. It's the battle of the duelists, and that's going to be the lock.
All right, Shift. There it is, the mirror composition. Now we can now we can give our big brain analysis. May the better team win here in this mirror matchup. Obviously, we're joking, but like the compositions are the same, but they've had ample time to revamp the way they're playing this map. They can sometimes just swapping up the way you're approaching the map, swapping up how you're taking early control. Even like your varied set ult plays and sort of these off rounds can make a world of difference when it comes to these sort of matchups.
The other thing about this for 2G is not just the adjustments that they can find versus M80 from when they played the last matchup in the group stage, but in particular, it's can they get things going on offense, because M80 were not allowing them to get the map in any regard. That has to change.
My eyes are on the duelist v duelist, something we'll get to see a lot of on Sunset. We've seen before, but if we can get to that point, that's going to be in All Knight's hands as it's ready to head on over to Lotus and head back to our casters, Vance and Lemon.
Thank you so much, Sierra. Yes, 2G are on series point after a pretty monumental comeback. Now we go to All Night side of the field on Lotus, one of their strongest maps when it comes to the last 5 times they've been there, Vance.
Yeah, and I think we're going straight into action, so let's just do it again. The Neon sliding through, trying to shoot across. I hear some ghosts, and now we're getting some right clicks from the classics, and this is something that All Nights we're going to have to... Okay, no, thank God. I thought we were going to have to cast with like just a monitor in front of my face again, but we'll get into it now. Spikes is trying to clear out here towards the front, and that is going to be something we're going to have to keep an eye open for here, because Spikes for over on 2G is great on his Neon role. I know ever since we've been watching Ascension, we've been giving a lot of praise here over to Dante, but this is somebody that in the Brazilian region has been owning.
Yeah, and for him to take the helm on so many of these agent picks versus 2G, like to swap that between Spike and Silence, and it's AK that, man, pushed up aggro as heck right off the rip. Things slow down, 2G revisit A, wrap around, and they lose, and 2G lose every duel on a single person drop from AK.
Yeah, sorry, I had a black screen for a bit, which is why I couldn't see anything, but we're good now. But at least it's a great start for All Nights to win this on a pistol round and a flawless 2, right? This was also a map here on Abyss where they lost earlier on. They were able to bring this comeback, but it fell kind of short with how Spikes has been doing such a good job activating on that side. But now that he's going to be able to do this over here with Silence playing this Neon, we'll see what's going to happen.
Man, we had quite a tone setter of round 1 of like, we're thinking we have time to talk about narratives, maybe people's pets, and then all of a sudden it's just an all-out war just right at A lobby, and that's just the type of style that AK have on pistol. That's how they won the very first round previously. Now you just have Fault Line on Mount. Spikes, how does he deal with any Cypher trips? Well, lucky for him, they're not going to be there, but opening the door, they're greeted by Sabondo and a 3K. That is not what 2G wanted to find.
Nope, and with Silence being the last player staying, of course, playing the Cypher this time around too. It's something that's going to be difficult here that you're going to have to be ready for against All Nights. This is also, we haven't seen too much of All Nights in Ascension, at least onto playing Lotus, right? This was also something that was mentioned on the desk early on by Roy. But I think this is also because people are respecting 2G a lot on this Neon pick on Dante overall, where when you're looking at the map veto process against all of these teams since the beginning of the group stages, it's really always been Lotus being banned by their opponents or floated out and banned as a second map ban. So All Knights have always been picking pretty much Haven, which was the other strong suit for them around the Neon. And now you're seeing this value that Dante brings, how fast they could be in these opening doors, fault line, run through with a Fade Eye, and really pinch your opponents here against 2G. And already from the get-go, Lemon Kiwi, 2G are afraid of this. They're already holding back towards spawn for the first 40 seconds. Passive camps too, just to try to see if there's any early aggression coming out. But All Knights want to play more reactively.
I'm afraid of All Knights. I mean, we just experienced 2 Blacklight flawlesses. The game just started and we're in bonus. Like, what the heck is happening? 2G really trying to take their time and not get surprised too much. It's giving a lot of map control now to 2G as they advance, clear the sniper trips, and just slip it on by. Silence with first blood, 2G with sight control, and AK trying to shoot through the smoke to do any damage. It's too little too late with the spike down. AK gonna wrap around. Baby door was broken. 2G have to be aware they could be surrounded. Don't have time to play outside the site besides maybe over at tree where Silence is, and even then he smoked off. 2G are really getting pinched inside the site, and Dante is hunting for more. Pricey will trade, and 2G will still remain.
It almost felt once again it was going to be one of those moments where All Knights could retake the site with this Neon composition. And Luis, once again, in another moment where he survives with HP, low HP remaining off a TP in the end, saved by his teammate on top of that as Prize was holding the back of the site. But they tried to go for a trap play once again for All Knights at the very beginning. Understandable, their bonus round here. So they're waiting to see if there's going to be any protocols off tap orbs so they could pinch back towards the C site, if not triple push towards B. And once they realized that for 2G's passive play, that Silence saw this push over on the B site, well, they also have their own composition that could be fairly quick. So they overtake the A site. They played a nice crossfire towards the end. They win the round, and thankfully, with a couple of players still alive at the end of the round to still keep their economy quite healthy in this gun round. But it is a great swing round that could happen here where 2G could take the lead potentially by 2, because winning this next one could potentially break the economy of All Knights in round number 4.
Speaking of economy, you got an Odin buy from Nico just roaring away at A lobby. Silence, mad respecting this. So 2G will fight for the left side. Camera from Tinshoff. Maybe spot this. This could be the same shot from AK where they open the door, and I like that. Luis is trying to deny this. He'll go 1 for 1. You have a chance for 2G to advance with their backs protected on the site. It's Tinshaw. He just gets run over. And man, Spike just slid right into his own death. AK being an absolute nuisance when it comes to the C site.
Wow.
It comes down to a 1v1.
And Prizey's able to win that
30 seconds left.
Against Sabanda while being blinded. And now with this ult, with the plant, still had the ult to work with. So he has an opportunity to really play against Nico Machine, who takes the long route with the Odin. Prizey's still winning in that corner, though, and he's watching that angle.
He's gonna win this. Odin's a big boy, and it doesn't work out. Prizey evens things up for 2G after AK came swinging for the fences with 2 flawlesses. 2G is so composed, resilient, and they fight back.
Yeah, and I want to talk about how important that position was there for Prizey on that 1v1, because he holds back towards the switch. If the door gets open, he could play close range in that area. He watches the angle towards the B main in case it's being flanked, and not too many cases will a person just walk into B main from the B side to try to clear angles, because you have to go for a 50-50, and it's easier for you to just flick back on that side. And if the spike was going to get tapped, he has the ult to work with to really try to find where his opponent could be within that site. So very nicely done by Prizey, being a key component in the last 2 rounds in terms of 2G able to string 2 rounds in a row. As we mentioned, this economy is now broken here for All Knights in round number 5, and 2G has a chance here to regain the lead here in this series.
Heavy push and first bloods back to back for 2G, just absolutely obliterating the A site. No chance for trades from AK. And with Sheriffs, you just hope and pray for the best. And this is racking up a ton of ult orbs too for 2G.
My ultimate
but hey, Tinshoff will
weapon here.
do what he can, catching 2G, extending out of the site, doing a bit of exploration. But now Tinshoff revealed here at the staircase. doesn't stand a chance. 2G on a roll.
Yeah, I was going to say there's an opportunity at least to do some econ damage. The two players playing outside of the site were one-shottable by the Sheriff in a chest shot there by Tinshop. Even a leg shot probably could have taken down Zap. But thankfully, still pristine in terms of the shots. And I gotta praise here 2G so far in terms of the supporting cast around what we always call the show around Spike and Silence. But Luis is doing a great job since map number 1. Zap has activated a little bit more here in this map, and Pricey again has closed out 2 rounds so far for 2G. They're looking much stronger here in this second, or in today, and in the last 2 matches even. From the M80 game to this one now today against All Knights. No op available here for Dante. It's going to be a rifle, and okay with that because we know that they want to try to go for this early rotate, not give a chance for their opponents to really set up in the post plant. They are spread across the map here to find this information a little bit more passively.
And the Odin just completely locked down the right side of the map. Now, it's nightfall. You have tons more in the bank, but Spikes gets pinged by a trip or something, and he just gets caught. Shoelace is tied up, and 2G will at least make the most of Spike's sacrifice. And it's just absolute chaos here, back and forth. Just Nico with the Odin. At least have a chance in these isolated duels, and he's got the good lineups for a Zippo clutch.
Well done there, my Nico Machine. A little bit of redemption after losing that 1v1 against Pricey, but I gotta, again, really nice on how they're playing within this map here for the side of the attack side for 2G, because they really avoided all this utility that was being thrown by Dante, even avoiding the relay bolts being thrown by Dante to really go for these instant trades. But yes, we are going, it seems like, to be witnessing such a bloodbath between both of these teams. I think it's going to be a map where if you blink, you're going to miss it. So you have to make sure that you tape your eyelids open here, chat, and make sure that you pay attention to this matchup between these two teams.
Do not blink, especially with how fast these teams play. And it's not even about retakes. It's about just holding the wall.
We fighting.
We fighting. We scrapping it out. And again, right side map control for AK limits the options for 2G. They've usually only sent one of Louise to kind of hold B so that door doesn't get open, the defense doesn't shoot him in the back. So it's been great adaptations for 2G. Do they wonder if this Odin is still here after being so quiet for so long? 2G are gonna, well, they were gonna check it out. This gets the Prowler out.
Yeah, and with that, they'll know the Odin's still there, right? So they had a forward camera on the attack side, so nobody there. The Prowler went on one side, so it's time to pivot towards C. Break the Cypher utility if you can.
If they can, that's the tough part. 2G are just getting cut at the heel. This corner seems impossible. And Tinchop just stands there and holds for a 3K and another Blacklight Flawless for All Knights.
Very difficult to do to take over the site when you're also playing a composition that doesn't really allow for you to break too much of the Cypher trips. The best thing you have potentially is to break it with an Aftershock, or to have your Prowlers come through to find and pinpoint where those trips could be and run through as the Prowlers being hit. And I think that was something that was maybe missing a little bit here on the side of 2G here when they're executing towards the attack. Because, like I said, they had this forward camera position from the Cypher that was eyeing towards the C side all along, trying to see who was triddled in, who was trying to rotate out, depending on what noise we could make. But on the side of 2G on that within that round, they didn't do too much noise at all. They never pulled any type of rotates around. They never tried to prod into the B side to see who was really there. They heard that the breakable door was broken. Sorry, the breakable door was broken. And then they realized that there was probably a strong side hold towards the A site. So let's just flood towards C, and then hoping that they could get these picks opened up against the Cypher setup here from Tinchoff. But you saw how it unraveled. Not enough util to break those trips, and they all fell from the double spam on both the players of All Knights on the defensive side.
And AK are funneling 2G exactly where they want them to be. They deny C site, which has been kind of the bread and butter at the earlier rounds for 2G, where they had that initial success. And it's forced now with this Odin buy, with the right side of the map being occupied, 2G are funneled into B or C. And now the Cypher util, you're talking about something that 2G have to address in this tactical timeout. But the trips aren't at the front door. They're not easily accessible, and by the time Spike slides, he's being caught by that. You can't afford to lose your star player like that. We'll see how 2G adapt to this. Now, instead of worrying about C, they're really going to press this map control on the A side, and it just will be a scrap. Spike with the ults, dances around with the speed. They deal with the AK pillar standing in their way, and it's a 2v2 as the dust settles.
But low on HP for Spike too. They are making a lot of noise, and Dot is just trying to spin across. Full solo now.
Last player
Spike
standing.
that Odin did damage, and Spike still has breath in his lungs at 4 and did what he can to slip by the aim of Tinshoff, but it's AK up ahead.
Util started off so good on the attack side too for 2G. The haunt was thrown out. It did get the ping. It did get the fault line onto, I think that was Sabando that was playing on the top of the rubble. Indeed it was. And as he dropped, he just held it there. Even if he got ping, he trusted his teammates across. He trusted the Util coming in from the defensive side to stall this aggression coming out from Spikes at the very beginning with the overdrive. But yeah, it all becomes a bloodbath towards the end from both of these teams. And as the dust settles, it really comes down to the position towards the end, because you're also continuously playing in the unknown after.
One more of a closer round for 2G, trying to contest the A side. It's worked out for them to just avoid C with all the Cypher annoyance that is caused for Spike. Now the Nightfall for the defense. Just slow down this push, and then they line up all the ducks, and 2G just going one by one. Now a bit stuck in tree, waiting for the push from Zap, who's got no util. Got nothing really to fight back against AK. At least going for orb, or even if they want to reveal their position. See how AK continue to be stoic on this site. 2G even have access to stairs if they wanted to wrap around. But it's 2G that lack numbers. I don't know if they could really take the risk.
Yeah, and even if they did, you have a passive angle being watched by Adverso, so they're playing the numbers advantage for all nights, keeping the protocols up, and now you're forcing the hand of 2G to work it inside that site, but there's 4 players ready to fight against you.
And an Odin, too, 2G. The only thing they had left was a Han. He got immediately shot. Maybe the best of viewers could tell if it was from the high ground or how close inside of the site it was. 2G, smart moved across into B, leaving a duckling behind there of Zap to cover their backsides. Who's even gonna go in deeper than that. Spike will be playing it with just 2 holding there for 2G. And Zap catches them off guard. He'll go once, and he gets the second. And deals with the util, but not the giant Odin of Nico. Now, Prizey surrounded. You can't do much else about it. AK on an absolute tear.
Their defensive setups are so good right now for all nights if you're not breaking this early utility. So this time not playing as aggressively, at least into what? The first 10 seconds of the A side, but that trip that's watching over that side, usually when you're playing a Killjoy, you're placing an alarm bot right at that entrance of where the staircase is and towards the A side so that you could actually get those players inside to be ready. But the extra layer that he add on top of that on the defensive side for all nights is the fault line from Adverso. So as they break the trip on the attack side, the fault line comes through so he could continue to slow players down so that Nico Machine could continue to position himself in great spots. And throwing out the Nightfall, it really throws a wrench into the plans of what 2G were trying to do as they were trying to execute on a split towards this A side. When you have so many players across that side and you're watching all these pushes and you have amazing aimers, it's hard for 2G to capitalize on a round win here. So small buy coming out on the attack side. Again, another initial engagement, war of attrition of utility towards the A side. But now you're just trying to prod towards C and hoping that the shares could land.
And going through such a long side of the map with the weaponry that they have, 2G, I mean, this has been multiple failed attempts now on the right side. They got the space, but AK plays so far back, it's been hard for 2G to have the right angle to find the approach. This time they'll go through tree. They're coming in quick. Pressure on Nico with that Odin. He's got the backup.
Spike
AK ready. Spike planted. Here's the retake from AK. They got smokes up. Nightfall from Prizey to just ensue the chaos. Nico ready to swing, but 2G
My God.
are ahead in numbers. As AK know they're close enough, they cannot play scared against the weaponry that 2G have. The Rolling Thunder emerges from Adverso. 2G taking a step back. And the numbers, the weaponry are failing them. In time, 2G just have to play their lives. They have to play time. The defuse has been procced, and 2G are trying to prevent it. There's not much Silence can do. It got defused. Yeah. Oh no,
he got him.
Oh my god! At the last second. Oh my
with
god!
The wall bang on top of that with the Sheriff. And this should have been a round that came in here for All Knights. They had the better weaponry that you mentioned here, Lemon Kiwi. They had ults to work with too. I'm actually surprised here that 2G went for the Nightfall to push back towards the spawn. It got opening kills, but there was still a Rolling Thunder available for All Knights. That should have been a round here, guaranteed for All Knights, that came back in favor of 2G. I think, did Sleegy just mention here that it was going to be an easy round for All Knights or something? Did he just cast a cursed team there for the retake for All Knights? But nonetheless, 2G stays alive, and they stay alive this round. Surprise play on the attack with a slide from a flash that gets stopped right away by Zap with the ADS.
And even on Abyss, like All Knights like to pull out these random aggressive strategies, whether it's putting Sabano in a corner or now just sending Dante to slip through. But 2G are a mechanical team. They're not going to miss against a Neon as quick as Dante is. And 2G stand on guard. Now that the spike is planted with AK trapping on the other side of the map with Silence awaiting them.
Yeah, at this point, after getting punished so early, no choice but to save the weapons. I love here that we're going on a hunt. Why not? Yes, the economy is not the best here so far for the team for 2G, but still good enough for Silence. He's at 4,100. So if you could actually drop this Odin and not give a chance here for All Knights to leverage that a little bit more here on the defensive side, that might open the doors here for 2G to push a little bit earlier out towards the A side, which maybe would have even tied the game. But overall, the spike's going to go off. Bermuda triangle set up here for All Knights, watching each other's backs. They should be safe enough here to save these weapons for both of these teams. And still a saving chance for All Knights to hold up here towards the A-side Robo with this Odin still available.
I mean, even Abyss was a 6-6 half, and we're kind of heading that direction. This is as close as it gets. I still can't get over that Silence clutch with the Sheriff. Like, it looked 100% diffused on my screen. I was confused. I can't believe that baby can sleep. This is insane.
Yeah, Silence has been popping off definitely in these Sheriff moments. Remember yesterday when, if you guys were watching against M80, got a 4K Sheriff round to save the round there for 2G and really allow for 2G to get such a good Sunset matchup, which would be the third map decider to All Knights continue such a good defensive round to start. I mean, getting 6 to even 7 on the defensive side is a great start here for All Knights on the defensive end. And now an opportunity here to close it up with one more. Aggressive angle coming out from Dante, but there is going to be a lot of utility potentially pushing him back, and then a Rolling Thunder to open up the C site.
Oh my god, Dante is really playing with fire. Will slip out, even with the stun. Now Rolling Thunder for 2G to take advantage of maybe Dante playing close. And 2G are on the chase. They got smoked off. They don't care. They have site control now. But it's the retake you got to worry about from All Knights.
Spike planted.
Flash, Prowler, Haunt, Paranoia from Sabano. A lot of retake tools from All Knight. Oh, Sabano? Oh! I thought he was dead, but I don't know how Spikes do that. Wow, what a catch! And the retake is there. Dante shows up, and he's obliterating the competition. Now the ult out, with the smoke out to 2G. All they could see is the L with AK cursing, of course, my 6-6 prediction with a 7-5 half.
Yeah, and I love it, at least from Dante and also from Adverso. Remember, Dante's getting hunted down by his opponent's Spike, Zap, and more utility following behind. He gets stunned on top of that, but the counter stun that came out from Adverso allowed for him to fall back. Then when you're spending so much utility here on your attack side to get into C, you just really called out every single piece of utility that was available for the defensive side to retake there for All Knights, Lemon Kiwi. But what do we have for the attack on the post plan? Basically nothing left. There was no fault line because it was on cooldown. They had no more utility to push the players back. And then you just have the unloading of utility on the defensive side that did not give any single chance for the attack side to play the post plan. Yeah, apparently rumors are there is Sadat going to Carmine Corps. That's a crazy, crazy timeline that we're currently living in, but I'm here for it.
That and everyone's asking for gun buddies or jerseys in the crowd. Like, you know what? Milk that. Get it. It's your chance to meet these teams at LAN. Wish we were there, but man, I could not contain my excitement if we were there with the crowd. A 7-5 half now for All Knights on their map, and to really just play a step back, to let the other team have the site and play for retakes, to let Dante loose the way that he is. Absolutely insane. But it's only a 2-round advantage, and we'll go now the next half on pistol, where All Knights have been pretty solid when it comes to pistols. We'll see if that can help them build more momentum in this game.
Yeah. But right now, Chad, you see these signs coming out here from Sadak. Just make sure here at this point that you don't really jump to conclusions. Unless it's, you know, I don't want to harp on people. Let's focus now here on the second half. All Knights again looked pretty good on the defensive side. They have an opportunity now to continue with this tempo on the attack end. When you're looking at the buy that both of these teams have, they are trying to leverage a little bit more of buddy systems with a lot of ghosts being purchased on their side. Not too many Sheriffs on that end, if not any at all. So you are expecting here that there's going to be some sort of mid-range close fight battles around this Neon and this Breach. And it starts off the defensive side for 2G on the A side. And All Knights, they already want to pivot for B control and C control, leveraging the revolving door depending on who they could spot, who they could pick, and maybe who they lose in the process.
Nico with the Prowler buy. Help get them some vision at B. Smokes in place to limit the amount of entries that AK have to address. Surprised he still has the haunt. Got cameras from the defense checking out C, very passive late back position with support in waterfall. All Knights aren't coming in guns blazing the way that they did in the first 2 rounds, which was like 10 seconds, 2 rounds went by, 2 blacklight flawlesses for All Knights.
But there's
always come
fault line coming off the camera potentially here, so they could fight back as well. You see the setups already coming from the B site with no execution coming through. They could hold on to that a bit. Just one single camera gives enough information right here for 2G to not jump to the gun rather on fighting the C site. But it's a re-hit though from All Knights.
30 seconds left.
All Knights are very good at being flexible, and this time they'll flex their way onto the site, getting hit by some breach util, and All Knights just try to hold on as best as they can. All Knights, oh yeah, Dante stuck in the smoke, not able to find teammates or help, but the spike left in B. It's 2G with patience that pays off.
100%. And as it was a stop and go for All Knights to fake the C site. Remember, when the breach is still holding towards his B heaven, it's still a good fault line for him to just pivot for the hit towards C or the hit towards B. And the reason why you went for the re-hit on the C side as a fake here for All Knights was because they avoided the camera, they also avoided the haunt, which then means they have zero information of trying to see if All Knights really will try to go into the C site. So as you fake that part of utility, it is pulling out some players to rotate over on that C site, and I think we jumped a little bit too early on the side of All Knights to try to work out towards the B site, as Tinshov got easily picked off by Spike, and the rest was 2G's victory at hand to hold down the fort on the B site hit. So All Knights in a full classic save. It's being watched here once again, caught in 4K. And they at least don't know that it's Silence now setting up towards the site.
Oh wow, he's got a lot more than what he bargained for.
Yeah.
Because AK just hoped to flood out this defense. We're only down by 1, but then AK lost focus as they tried to address just multiple lanes. And it's all up to Dante. So 1 versus 3, and they all came at him, but he was able to stay and at least do a bit of damage. Still a 2G round.
Shout out to the Zeta Division buddy that was on that Bulldog. I think that's on Silence, right? So quite cool, giving support here to APAC. But as you saw, there was maybe a little bit of overconfidence coming out here from Silence at the very beginning as he spotted the Cypher lurking up. Did not expect there was going to be a surprise family photo as soon as he got picked off here. And as he gets the first pick, the quad swing came out, but there was unfortunately no more damage being dealt with by All Knights here after that first pick. So Nice little hold in the end, but a very low bonus round for 2G in this round number 15.
Spike is almost trying to just force Util out of AK, and we haven't seen Spike just be so aggressively active like that off the rip of a round. He'd rather play safe and off of the Util and just off of team play, while Dante's more likely the one to W key and go for multi-kills and to put the team on his back if needed. AK take a step back, they re-emerge, they re-clear, and so they did with a double kill off Adverso. Could open up the C side as Zap be there to hopefully try to slow it down and at least go 1-for-1 if he continues to hold this corner.
Almost feels like all 10 players have to up their DPI and double it up from like 800 to 1600 to 3200, depending what DPI you play at, because when you're getting stunned consistently by Dante, Adverso, Spike, and Zap, you have to be snappy here if your crosshair placement isn't there. And thankfully, Adverso got that pick there onto Spike. That was trying to move forward, trying to add that surprise factor. And again, I respect that bonus round in the air for 2G. Left. And Spike also, as I've mentioned at the beginning of this matchup, a great Neon player that had a lot of eyes on him in the past too over at 2G, because he was pretty much dominating as Neon in the Brazilian region, or the Brazil region. I think if I'm not mistaken, it was also like playing on blind at some point. Just rocking with it. Nonetheless, though, 7-7 scoreline tied up, and you see this pivot back from All Knights into a plant on the A side, and 2G, they're still closing that gap, looking for these exits. Not necessarily looking to see if not necessarily looking to save their Bulldogs, but maybe even upgrade outside of the radius if some players were there. But AK seemed to be okay here to save their 5 rifles outside of the A site. They'll meet no oppositions from the flank. Little Prizey swings out here.
Yeah, just at least 2G were trying to cut to the... Oh. Wow, okay, Zap did a lot there. We had low expectations. He tried to find the shortest route so he didn't have to play long A. He cut through B, wrapped around, and some serious work.
Even Silence got a 4th kill just before he died to Spike. So actually, the bonus round becomes amazing here for All Knights, because there was only 1 player left alive in the post plant. Sorry, the bonus was perfect for 2G, as there's only 1 player left here for All Knights. This is not that great of a result that you wanted to have here, coming in of such a clean round at the very beginning on your attack side. At least they'll have a Rolling Thunder, Guardian. Slow pacing coming in here from the A side just to bait out Util. I mean, Sabano dying is going to be tough because there's not going to be any smokes on your actual execute, so you probably have to start tempoing a lot faster than you should right now. Because if you give 2G an opportunity to breathe and reset up now, and you don't have any smokes to work with on your exec, it'll be tough. Thankfully, fast lane with Rolling Thunder could be the saving grace to get inside the C site.
And it was a great read to use the fault line when he caught Sabano teleporting. Now this camera in a safe location will not be shot, but it lines up things for Silence. The info pays off. The Outlaw will play at the back, and Zap will take over from the waterfall side. And it's just Adverso in a 1v5 where you pointed out economy was already put in shambles from the last second damage that 2G did. So Adverso, ideally like to keep this weapon, but he's got some safety behind this mound, but no longer. Blacklight flawless this time on 2G's side.
Man, Silence really does it all. From Jet Duelist to KO to Cypher anchoring, he's playing every role very comfortably and looking very good on all of them. He's really an all-around great player that you should be looking for here if 2G doesn't have an opportunity to ascend now into partnership. And I love just a simple setup of a camera. A couple of rounds ago, got spotted and broken, but this time he hit it within the foliage, which was really good. First off, spotted them, and secondly, did not go for a ping so that he gives his position away, which then allows for him to get 2 easy Outlaw kills, again, just because of the amount of damage that they were able to do in their bonus round against All Knights. To drop 4 players, to force a gun round with small shields. Just great heads-up play by understanding that economy here for the defensive side. Now All Knights are forced to time out. They could hopefully carry things back in their favor here, where they should have control. They should have control of this attack side on their map pick.
Yeah, this is a very strong map for All Knights, but forced to take a pause after they've only taken one offensive round in this half. And just being caught by just walking into an area where their position has been discovered. You already pointed out how Silence played that C-site solo so well. So now it's about opening up the strat book, and if you're All Knights, they've been quirky with it too. And I think Sabando has been a really creative player that you can insert in these spots, and I wonder if All Knights can talk about what the weaknesses are in terms of map control for 2G, where to insert those players where you could convert more numbers to get more multi-kills.
This timeout, not necessarily for this round, rather for All Knights, and they're fighting here already.
No joke. I mean, Spike has done this before, except he didn't have any visitors last time he sat on Mound. And All Knights contested it. But man, they all fell. But to be fair, the weaponry wasn't favoring All Knights.
Not ready yet.
Now they could start to salvage this economy by gifting over a round to 2G. They'll wait around this corner, maybe trying to give a sense of security to 2G.
Screwed. There's no more cages left. They can't really cross over to pick it up. The only thing is winning off the fault line, and somehow the fault line was good enough. Everybody was converted now for 2G to just try to group up and not let them cross over and pick it up, and that fault line really saved everything in a double swing. Wow, okay.
It's too much for Luis to handle, but at least the rest of 2G back him up. And All Knights, at least it was a quick one, so they could start to get towards weaponry that'll be a bit more even against their opponent. But both these teams have been trading blow for blow, and this is series point for 2G after a win on Abyss, after they've done so much work to improve their Abyss, especially their offense, as the desk pointed out. So we'll see what All Knights can do on their map pick, one that they were undefeated on the last 5 times they've been to Lotus. All is in All Knights' court.
I'd like to see here after the timeout, All Knights taking a little bit more, once again, some mid to B split control, just because of how the defensive side has been set up here for both of these teams. They've always played double trips within the site. They played camera for most of the times now on the defensive side for 2G on the extremities, and really it's nothing watching middle. You're not playing a Viper, you can't Viper wall up, there's no turret to spot things out. You could potentially find a way to default on these extremities and re-hit towards the B side to give yourself a chance at least to plant inside B, although it's not the easiest site to hold in the pulse plant, but at least it'll give you some saving chances on the attack side, because trying to get into the trap setups of the Cypher has not been working too well for either of these teams.
2G are really trying to draw out util. I mean, mind games between the two Omens. But the press from AK, either towards B or towards A, trying to use the camera. Shot from the high ground, now breaking in. Breach util thrown into B. Haunt discovers no one. Smokes in place for AK to have a bit of safety during the plant. It's a paranoia to a rolling thunder from 2G as Spike throws out the ult too to just zap away. And everyone past the smoke. Somehow AK takes damage, but only start to fall now, and are successfully able to plant before Spikes, the janitor on duty, is here to clean up. But it's Dante. It's just a lightsaber battle between them in a 2v2 with AK panicking, stuck inside the room. Dante breaks out, loses to Luis, traded out. Pricey versus Sabando, with Sabando at 11 HP. Now with the teleport, and wins that against Pricey. And all tied up.
Oh my god, that was an intense round of Valorant where I thought maybe in 2021 it was going to be crazy to cast a double controller with a Viper's Pit into a blind hit, but now it becomes a Rolling Thunder to double overdrive to a Paranoia being thrown on both ends to Fade Haunts being thrown to. It's crazy what's happening in that B side so far. But again, it just all got traded out where both of these teams found the right timings to just make sure that none of the opponents got value out of the Rolling Thunder Paranoia combination. And it was up to both Neons to really create that space, to leave it to a 1v1. But I don't even have time to talk about this. We're already going into round number 19, a push towards A main, and it pushes some players back for some information. Oh, Luis just got spotted, but he's not TPing out. He might still be in a great spot to maybe catch one, but all of All Knights are still holding back towards the spawn while they keep one player inserted towards the C main until then.
But the camera bait, where you thought Luis was dead for sure, and he trusted silence. As soon as you heard the camera got shot, Luis reacted. It's a number advantage for 2G, and it continues to boil down to 2G aggression, keeping AK at bay. AK have no space to work with. Look how far Luis is pushing up, and Adverso can't line up the shot. That was not good.
Unfortunately not. I think that was going to be one of those rounds where I would have potentially even criticized Luis continuing to push towards the C mountain because they had full control of the A site. They pushed everybody back. They got these kills. Great mechanical skills by Spike to go for the double slide. Really bold catching. Really daunting to take him down. These guys have been watching each other's tapes in terms of how to move mechanically. But with that, there was an opportunity there for Adverso to win that 1v1 against Luis, and then maybe open up the C side for a fast tempo. But in the end, unfortunately there, misses the shot. They lose the spike, and now the last two players have to save, which is fine now for 2G with Luis winning that 1v1. And they'll once again take the lead here in this second map, trying to bring this to sunset if they can. Or sorry, they're trying to win the series. All Knights needs to bring it to sunset.
Yeah. And I mean, 2G are just barely having a lead, and they just barely have an economical advantage. And with these rounds coming down to just these last 2v2s or 1v1s, like, this was an important round for All Knights to win, and for not, they probably gonna have to save. And this is 2G getting ever so closer to knocking out their good friends to the lower bracket. And with M80 and Glorious down there, it's just not a great place to be. Able to still get some rifles out if you're AK, and man, does it hurt! Punishing 2G. Tried to contest Rubble, got a little too confident. Didn't even have a chance to gather their bearings when they went for Rumble, and AK took care of them, took care of business. The Nightfall fully take over the site, not even smoking the high ground, give you a chance for Adverso to make up for the last round. And this is AK about to tie things up.
Yeah, not taking too much damage in the process. There's only Adverso so far that's been heavily damaged by armor only. It becomes a Black Light Flawless towards the end, where All Knights just decide to go for a death ball with the lower bar that they had, not trying to insert, not trying to promote the map, and just really trying to fight back against the early use of utility rather being used on the defensive side. So it works out in their favor. I'll take it, I guess, at this point. But I was going to mention before we got into the round how much it meant here for 2G from that bonus round that they dropped 4 players of All Knights in the process. And since then, All Knights have been battling with the economy and the right amount of utility to really work this map here against 2G's defensive side.
And after that force from AK, they give themselves a leg up. They are not letting 2G build any win streak beyond a 2-round win streak. Now 2G have to worry about this round.
Exactly. That single round that AK won with that lower buy that they have, look at the economy for 2G right now. Yes, they could potentially buy some sort of scrap within the next, but that is a round that was needed here by All Knights to reset really the pacing and the tone that 2G's been pulling on their defensive side.
And AK are forced to play slow because of these cypher trips that have been hurting Dante so much, but that patience pays off. And they catch Silence still sitting in the site. And AK leaving it open. Now spotting that fault line coming from Waterfall. AK will stand, ready for the smoke to drop. The spike will be planted while that vision is obscured. And 2G have a split. And on a long flank, who other than Luis has a trip that will delay him, and AK are trying to capitalize on this. The Nightfall, 2G do not want to wait any longer as Sabato teleports at 1 HP to the corner to catch the entry, and he doesn't. And it's the retake that slips into the shadows. And AK are all messed up from this retake, and 2G managed to defuse at the last second to get up to 11.
Yeah, well done here by 2G towards the end. I mean, at some point, All Knights off their timeout were mentioning how the C site was playing a little bit more passively with those trips that we mentioned for, and how the composition wasn't the best to break those trips or to allow your star duelist to really get through here if it wasn't for Prowlers or Aftershock. So instead, they just throw a smoke right in the middle of the C site. They walk in to play contact with 4 players there. It actually catches the defender in the back of the site and takes him down. But unfortunately, they couldn't hold the pulse plant. So now 2G comes back with just sheer raw power of aiming to be able to win that fight. And now all Knights are still falling behind. Thankfully, only by 1.
Yeah. The lead has never gotten too far away from AK. And Spike will not be sitting on mound this time. Orb for AK from the shadows and Rolling Thunder. This can be an easy site take for AK if the cards, the stars align, I should say. Yeah. But it's the post plant that we have to worry about.
Still a lot of respect given for AK over to 2G. The initial tap on the spike, on the orb rather, on the C side, trying to see there's going to be a push moving through. They now capitalize on the orb and have a Rolling Thunder work with for the execution, and 2G realizes that after going into contact into the A main, they want to let this Rolling Thunder come back. They play so far back, and they'll play the retake in the site that they've been pretty good at so far.
Great read. Now the retake for 2G before AK gets set up, and man, AK just stood and realized and reacted. And it's AK that bring this to 11 before the spike even got planted. And for them to not even feel too secure when the Rolling Thunder came out, to just react as quickly as they did to the defense retaking. Ooh,
yeah,
it's intense.
Zap's feeling it too. Is like, oh man, that would have been something that we should have had at that point. And it seems as though their attempt to flood retake before the spike went down kind of just bit them in the behind, because none of that utility really took down or concussed or really slowed down All Knights here in the hit towards the site when they overtook that site. So maybe it was just misplaced utility, unfortunately, there. I really didn't allow here for 2G to fight back in that area. Which now ties up the game once again. We're going back and forth so far in the later half of the second half of this map. And yeah, this may be a map here picked by All Knights that's been looking pretty good in their own region here in LATAM. But also seeing that it's 11 here at this point, mirror matchups, they understand each other's playstyle, and it's only fair here, just like they've mentioned, and just like you voted here in the chat how close this game would be, 50-50. We are divided in the second map on the mirror matchup.
Anyone can take this. This is as close as it gets. We truly have the best team showing up for Ascension, fighting for that one seat in the big leagues. It's 2G calling that timeout. Once they get any kind of energy going, man, they start getting loud. They get out of their seats, yelling at the crowd, yelling at their opponent. And now it's time to lock in the overdrive from Spike. Not taking any kind of aggressive positioning, as Luis is discovered from the haunt. Not punished, as AK will smoke. Will try to grab the orb. That'll give overdrive to Dante.
Yeah, at least one away.
No, he's 2 away.
Yeah,
Oh,
at least one away getting to pick whatever it is, right? The protocols are still there, because I still like that call, because for All Knights, it's for them to decide now that we're into the later halves and into the final moments of the second map. It is quite important to potentially give the chances in your favor should you lose this round here, but they only went for the tap and still gave it up. They're not picking it up here because looks like for AK, they want to focus on their rifles. They could still buy for the rest of this regulation time. So they went for the tab, rotate back towards A. And again, it's been very difficult to deal with the Cypher utility on where it's being placed by Silence. A Laura buy could still be very good for a team like 2G, as they've converted before in the past.
AK are trying to draw out 2G. Will Zap take the base and Baby Door. Now AK will execute. And they get hit by some huge paranoids, a lot of stuns, and AK will still stand in the corner to do what they can. It's Hinchop with 2, Sabata with the 3rd. Spike with the overdrive is at 30 HP. He's gonna need some support. He's forced out by the aftershock. And AK have time to even get the plane. It doesn't matter. They're up to 12.
That is so insane. how he was able to stay alive for so long in the drop, but you definitely do see it from the coaching staff and the players, how they're hyping the crowd up. Another one of these battles where All Knights have to play the comeback. It didn't look like it was a comeback so far, but it's been going back and forth where 2G also still looked like they had full control of how they were fighting against their opponents in the macro play, and it really just came down to individual aim. But this time, finally, it looked much better and cleaner for All Knights on how they flooded towards that A site and fight against their opponents. And they tried again for a slide towards the C main, but no kills, no hits, only Sabando lightly damaged, and they're falling back for All Knights' side to pivot towards A.
GG, you're so good at switching it up too, of whether to play inside of the A site instead of playing for retakes.
Here.
And then sometimes just going for retakes. AK don't know what to expect. And the camera spot a lot of numbers here at long A. And Silence, I mean, there's just a sheriff for him at the corner. Oh, Prizey spot. He has a hero rifle, and then make the most out of it, catching AK with some stuns, and Nico will try to trade and do what he can. Now throwing out the hunt to get info on the other side to see who escaped. And we're left in a 3v3 for the win for AK at 12. The spike left behind, not a good spot when it's within Prizey's vision.
That's the thing. It's out in the open where the attackers are actually pinned into 3 different positions, and they're trying to force the hand against Luis. They also have a TP to work with, so it makes sense for them to just chase him down, because if they open up the C side, it's going to be an easy TP that gets denied right away. That is the biggest kill that Luis can do right now in regulation.
Now Luis is just playing games, playing with his food, and insane turn and burn by Luis. And a dog in him, 13 seconds. All Knights just tried to win off of kills.
Left.
Will recover the spike. No, I think they barely have time, especially now with 2G on their tail. The spike drops. 2G will force more rounds. It is not over.
Switching sides. Overtime.
My God, was it a heroic play coming out there from both Luis and also Signs for both of those players to still be alive. That trip was also everything to not allow All Knights to move in for the last second plant, because they did look like they lost composure on that 3 versus 3 when Sabano was getting, or Luis was getting pushed down. So for him to get that kill onto Sabano was huge. No opportunities to TP, no opportunities to plant, but an opportunity to fight into overtime. Again, we couldn't ask for anything better in terms of a close matchup between these two teams.
No win streaks in a while for either team. This is so back and forth. Time to go and see who will get the advantage here in OT. It's 2G on offense first. Spike dancing against Dante, who's been his more aggressive counterpart. Now trips all over C. Something so difficult for these Neons to deal with. You pointed out the Prowlers, maybe the Aftershocks. Or you can just shoot it, but you gotta then take your time. Your Neon can't go crazy. Nico with the usual Odin buy to hold down the right side of the map. 2G try to draw out AK by just spraying.
Seeing a nervousness around for both of these teams, both right there, kind of hesitating on where they want to add the actual pressure in the very beginning. Avoiding the Odin in the very beginning and looking to just contact play within the C site once again. But Sabano's ready with Tinchop. Cage is coming up.
Sabano had time to use the paranoia that got him a kill, and it helped Tinchop finish a second. And it gave time for AK to retreat to the back of the site. 2G, step 1. Got the spike down. 3 versus 4, though, is what 2G have to face. It's a disadvantage. And also, now Waterfall is open. Adverso gets pulled in. Dante executes. And the numbers favor AK. And Silence did what he could. But it's AK on map point.
Wow. I thought it was going to be the win con there. That fault line, or should I say the flash that was available here from Adverso, could have been the first thing to flash in and to allow All Knights to flood back against 2G when they had zero utility in the post plant. But instead, I love that 2G identified that. They try to push him down, and he pulls back into the corner so that Dante could just slide down and get the backstab kills on those two players and not give one lick of a chance here for the pulse plan to be held. And that calls out the timeout here for 2G's end. A map again where they looked like they had great control in the very beginning. But as soon as All Knights on their attack side, yes, they won a bonus round, or their gun round against a bonus that broke their economy, and they had to fight back in their favor. But now when you're hand in hand at the even economy in overtime, it's been looking pretty good for All Knights on the defensive side. And now that they have equal footing on the attack side, they may be able to close it out.
Just judging by what the coaches are talking about here in the tactical pause. It's all about tempo and timing. As the chaos ensues, that nervousness sets in. You gotta play off of each other. You gotta react. You can't get confused when all the dice are on the table. It's now All Knights on map point, on their map pick, going all the way to overtime with back-to-back round wins from All Knights. Can they close it out, or will 2G knock them into the lower bracket? They'd have to come back, and we got a game on our hands.
Oh, we definitely do. We definitely do, with how chaotic it's been between both of these teams, on how aggressive they've been fighting in these early rounds. And sometimes we're changing the tempo. It becomes an all-out battle in the pulse plant scenarios, both of these teams. Very beginning of this round, though, on the defensive side, you saw the fault line come out on over towards A. And they just inserted Luis right there to continue to throw one-way smokes and hold that area so that the team could now focus on the same type of setup. The fault line setup from the B main into the camera, and maybe just trying to delay with a C's Prowler, anything to just spray through the crossover towards the C site.
Oh, the camera's gone. AK trying to, again, bait out the defense, maybe just trying to blindly shoot at trips or where they think the camera was. And now you got 2G nervous, playing off of no info, and AK also smoked, made it look like they were going to cross into C. And now the actual hit is happening at A, and holding up close and personal is 2G. And Spike even using the walls to get back to a safe position. Even the teleport from Luis too. It's the defense with first blood.
Yeah, you just had to have Spike do a high-risk, high-reward there. Just spraying through the smoke, crossing your fingers that it actually breaks and takes up an opponent down, and it took down the star player. Pivot now goes into the C-side, hit by the trip, TP across the battle behind!
A re-hit that 2G cannot keep up with. AK, the numbers back in their favor. And a safe point will ensue. Coming up from behind, Zap. 2 at the top of the site, door open, drawing the attention from AK, but with the smoke in their way, there's a sense of security from AK as they focus forward to the top of the site, where Spikes will not allow them to get through. And it's 2G with the pin serve, but as AK bunker down, they enthrall 2G from the shadows. Sabando, now he's involved. Now it's Zap in a 1 versus 2. And he made his way into the site and has the high ground. Has no idea that the hit is from Waterfall. And there you have it. AK take the map.
AK take their map pick and are able to push this into Sunset off the back of Sabando. Breaking ankles, going with the TP while he's hit by a trip, and solo holds the C site to make sure that they push this into a tiebreaker map. And that is pure redemption going into what happened in round number 24, where he died by the hands of Luis, where they were supposed to grab that spike and get that plant. They had the weapons advantage. But again, in these moments where it seems as though it slips here for All Knights and their backs against the wall, they're always going to stay composed to be able to fight back. So now being able to do this here for All Knights, we're in for a banger treat for a third map.
All Knights from that deficit rose from the dead and gave us a darn good series. And the sun will set on our final map. But before that, we got to go to a break. We got to hear the reaction from the desk. Get our popcorn ready. We'll see you for the third one.